Hey, welcome back. I hope you had a restful weekend. And today I want to start a new topic. This week we're going to move away from multiplication and we're going to start to focus on fractions. And where the important word to learn as we start learning fractions is partitioning. Now, this word sounds really fancy. It's pretty long and it has a lot of letters, but it means one thing. It means breaking shapes into equal parts. And you can see the word part is in partitioning. So that's a nice way to remember. When you are partitioning, you are breaking shapes into equal parts. And a key word here is equal. When it's a fraction, they must all be the same size. They must all be equal. So there's three ways we are going to be partitioning shapes today. And you should recognize these words a little bit. Okay. The first way we're going to partition our shapes is into halves. And halves is something you must be very familiar with. You probably have shared half a cookie with someone. Maybe you have shared half your paper in art with someone. But half just means two. You have one part and someone else has one part. So there's two parts of the cookie. Thirds is similar to thinking about being third in a race. There's one person ahead of you, there's two person who is second, and you're the third person. So that's people three, right? That's three people in. So there's three parts to thirds. And fourths, can you guess? It's even in the word. Fourths is breaking something into four equal parts. So we're going to practice this idea of partitioning these shapes into halves, thirds, and fourths today. We're going to start with these squares. So when I break a square into half, I like to just start from the top in the middle, try to find the middle, and draw the line down. I'm doing my best to do it straight, but it does not need to be perfect. We know that we are only human and we are learning and we're going to make little wiggling mistakes. But it looks very similar, so I would say this is a equally partitioned shape. Maybe instead of going from the top, you like to go from side to side, like rows. That works too, as long as they're equal and one is the same size as the other. You can even be creative. You can start from the corner. Two halves that look more like triangles. But the key is equal. This doesn't work because one person is going to be very happy to have this cookie and the other is going to be extremely upset to have this cookie. This is not an equally partitioned cookie or square. So for thirds, we're going to try to break it into three. And this one's more tricky because you can't start with the middle because that only makes two. You have to start kind of on the side with enough room to be able to draw two lines. When you draw those two lines, you end up with three equal parts. Maybe you want to challenge yourself. Go from the side. You can. It's a little trickier for me. Maybe it's easier for you, but I like top to down. Top down. Okay. Three equal parts. Remember, equal or you're not partitioning the shape. Now, for fourths, I like to just make a plus sign. Easy peasy. Because we all know how to make addition signs. Or maybe you want to make an X. You guys all know how to make X's. Woo! Still equal, even though my X is a little wiggly, but you can get equal shares or equal parts. But if you want to challenge yourself, maybe you want to draw lines like this across. I think that's kind of harder. But maybe you want to have fun and test yourself and see how you could do. But remember, when we partition shapes into halves, thirds, and fourths, we need to make sure it is an equal. All right, so here we're going to practice on some rectangles. And really what I want to make sure you guys remember is that we just started partitioning, right? So you might make your lines a little wiggly, or it might be off a little bit. You might need to erase and retry. That's okay. This is brand new, and it's going to take a little practice. That's where we are. This is not a test. I'm not trying to catch and see if you can or can't do it. I just want you to try. And because we're just practicing and learning, I put the words here because you don't need to know these words all the way yet. Maybe you do. Great. If you already know these words, you're like, it's easy, Miss Walsh. That's fine. If that's not how you feel, if you still need to look here to remember what each word means, then please look in the corner because this is time to practice, not just to know. So look, double check, try, look again. If you need to, when you're working on your worksheet, pause the video here and just look at the chart. It is just there to help you so that you can learn this new idea, okay? So back to partitioning. I'm going to start with halves. So just like with the square, you can go from the top, or maybe you want to, this one's much longer, so it's harder to go from the side because you got to travel. But there you go. Or maybe you like the corner. Still works. All the same strategies work. So same, thirds. I like top to bottom. It feels better for me. Maybe you're a side-to-side person. Maybe you like the X for fourths. I think the X kind of looks cool. Are they equal now, though? It's hard to say. The plus I know. It probably is equal, but here. That one I know is all the same. And then, oh goodness, okay, here I'll try the fourth line way, but that's the challenging way, right? So I am just working on trying to make them equal. Oh, there you go. You cannot partition like this. The reason is because this one's bigger, this one's bigger. The key is to try to get them as close as possible. So here, one more time. Maybe you want to challenge yourself and do the long way. I find it a little difficult, but I believe in you guys. Do what you want. See, look at how wiggly my lines are. Okay, but I did my best. Ooh, but fourths is 4, thirds is 3, and halves are 2. All right, so we're going to practice one more time, but we're going to look at some more interesting shapes. More different shaped. Squares and rectangles are not so bad, but circles and triangles, I think, are a little more challenging. So we're going to look a little closer at how you can partition those shapes as well. So partitioning triangles and circles is a little more tricky. Let me get the words up here because like I said before, this is not a gotcha moment. We are practicing. So if you watch this video a couple times to look at ideas for partitioning these shapes or remembering what these words mean, that is not only fine with me, it's encouraged. Please, please watch the lesson a couple times if you need to. So when partitioning triangles, it's tricky because the shape isn't the same everywhere. So I can't just draw a line right side to side and have those be equal. This one is much smaller than this one. So even though I technically broke it into 2 parts, they are not equal. So it does not work. So let's go back. But one way I do know is starting from the top, I can draw it down like this. It's a little wiggly, but you get the idea. I can do it from the corner and go to the flat line, or I could do it from here, flat. And all of these are equal shares of a triangle. And you notice it has to start with a part, which is kind of tricky. So those are ways I've noticed to do halves with triangles, but you can't just take a corner and then have 2 corners on the other side. It's not an equal share. What about thirds? Can I draw this into thirds? No, you can see that some of these are bigger. This point at the top is pretty small, so that's not an equal share. Can I draw it like that? So that doesn't work as well because two of the corners are very small and the other one is getting a better, the middle one is getting a better part. Can I do some sort of like meet in the middle? Oh, that one's tricky. Aha! I think I found one. So that was actually pretty hard for me to figure out, but I was able to do a 3 share here. Can I do 4s with triangles? No. These are all pretty different shapes, so that is not a way. Can I draw it this way? No, see, they're still all very different shapes, so it's not, does not work. Go this way. Once again, these are end up pretty different. So I would say a triangle can't easily, if at all, be broken into fourths. So here are some strategies, but I even think that that's all. So I'm gonna just put X, no fourths. Yeah. So a circle is very interesting to partition because you have to think of it more like a pizza. The drawing it into half is pretty easy. While it's wiggly, you get the idea. I could draw the line starting anywhere. I did it from the top there. What if I want to start from this corner? As long as you go across, you could split a circle into half. But doing thirds, you see, like, you have the same problem as a triangle if you just draw lines. So you need to imagine you're cutting a pizza. And if you're cutting a pizza, you cut into the middle, like so, into thirds. Ooh. And now it looks more like a pizza, and there's 3 equal parts. I could do the same with fourths by drawing a plus through it. You want to draw an X through it instead. But I think what's really important to think about with circles and triangles is the shape of the corners of the shape make it so not all the same partitions that are easier to do with squares and rectangles are possible. So when you're dealing with a circle or triangle, be creative. What can you do? And if it doesn't work, that's okay. These shapes are more tricky. Erase it and try a different way. So what we practiced today is halves, thirds, and fourths. Your job is to complete pages 22 and 23 in your packet, practicing partitioning a shape and also finding equally partitioned shapes. Excited to see what you come up with.